This is a video essay for Film and Screen Cultures module, written and created by second-year Media and Communication student Inga Valiaugaite in Coventry University, 2019.
This video essay is going to be about significant moments in cinema, and it's going to be displaying a critically informed knowledge of the historical, social, cultural, aesthetic, and political discourses in which visual cultures and their developments are articulated.
It is unarguable that film has a powerful ubiquity within human culture. The role of film in society has grown so much, it became an unarguable part of art. While films are predominantly created for entertainment purposes, it would be a mistake to reject their world-changing potential. Historically, film became an art form that is a blend of literature, drama, photography, and music. Cinema has become a powerful vehicle for culture. Since the beginning of film, filmmakers have always had to make creative decisions with limited options for the purpose of visual storytelling. In early cinema stages, the camera assumed to position the spectator in the middle of the frame, almost like the best seats in theater. Creative camera work changed drastically as film technology improved and directors could start experimenting with color, as for decades the default for film color was black and white. The relationship developed and progressed through camera movement, mise en scène, a French term meaning placing on stage, and editing. In 1950s, a group of young directors brought out a new cinema movement named Nouvelle Vague, which was influenced by the Italian neo-realist. After the World War II and events that shook the world, cinema was a retreat and safe haven from inclement world out there. Besides directing films, the directors also play a role as authors. They used film as a medium to express their thinking. From that time on, French New Wave had become a mainstream film movement in the 1960s, and it brings influences to the filmmaking until today. So let's look a bit more into how Nouvelle Vague rejected mainstream French cinema, what techniques were used, who were the most influential directors of the era, and what films became nothing but one of the most known and legendary films of all time.
It is Paris in the late 50s, and French film enthusiasts François Truffaut, Jean-Luc Godard, Claude Chabrol, and Jacques Rivette write and discuss about cinema as they don't have enough money to make their own films.
They decide to make films in a new and their own original format.
This world was new and open, and anything was possible.
Thus, directors produced film within low budget that eventually led to characteristics that defines the whole movement. For example, shooting on location was taken into consideration as this method was cheaper than shooting in studio. That can be easily seen in most of French New Wave movies. What has to be mentioned is that filmmakers started experimenting with editing, visual style and narrative, which emphasized innovation over craft. In order to create a true representation of their lives, directors felt a need to differentiate themselves from the older generation creators. Individuality of the director is clearly seen in his cinema. This is where auteur theory comes in, a term which is credited to the critics of the French film journal Cahiers du Cinéma. It is a way of looking at films that state that the director is the author of a film. The theory argues that a film is a reflection of the director's artistic vision with a personal signature visible from film to film. Some of the most known auteur directors are Alfred Hitchcock, Howard Hawks, and Steven Spielberg. Now let's talk about most iconic films that were creating during French New Wave. A great example is Jean-Luc Godard's directed crime drama Breathless, which attracted much attention for its visual style, which included unconventional use of jump cuts.
Fille qui a une très jolie nuque, de très jolis seins, une très jolie voix, de très jolis poignets, un très joli front.
You see? No reaction shot, no master shot. Besides all the editing techniques, one of the most noticeable aspects of the new wave in general was camera movement. Breathless film, which revolves around a criminal and his American girlfriend, was shot on a handheld camera to give it a natural look. In order to differentiate from others, directors experimented with moving the camera instead of leaving it static. The intention of the style was to ensure the authenticity and improvise in order to make film come alive. Godard specifically liked to track from low angle in front of the characters.
What they brought to editing was a breaking of the rules. Whatever books that said this is how it had to be done, they burned them.
Breathless is too hip for me. I come from Lower East Side. I'm an Italian-American guy. It's too beatnik. It's like, bohemian. It's too cool. I liked it.
Another noticeable aspect of the new wave was a way to approach a viewer and convey the message. Most films often use a close-up, so-called an informative shot, to show something important to the audience, but not in Nouvelle Vague. By playing with the frame and developing alternative techniques, New Wave left legacy for enhancing new styles. These are a couple of examples of drawing our attention to the scene and maintaining the essence of the style. Well, you might wonder, why does it matter in today's cinema? The effects of the French New Wave are still clearly evident until today's century. It displays a postmodern playfulness and ideas which other filmmakers still struggle to replicate. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is a romantic sci-fi film with the elements of the psychological thriller shot in 21st century. Loose structure, handheld camera work, jump cuts, and inventive scene transitions made it nothing but a reminiscence and reference to Nouvelle Vague.
There were some films that really changed our perception of what filmmaking was.
The experiments being done with film form influenced filmmaking outside of France, inspiring the American New Wave of the 60s and 70s. It also expanded form of escapism, as the films started breaking the fourth wall, keeping the audience aware that they are watching a work of fiction.
Elle pense qu'à rigoler.
À qui tu parles?
Spectateur.
French New Wave lives in the work of many modern directors, such as Scorsese, Francis Coppola, Quentin Tarantino. So this was a short discourse about film, screen culture, and one of the most influential eras in cinema, the French New Wave, or so-called Nouvelle Vague. Its influence is still alive and well spread today. This momentum in cinema brought a message that is not necessary to have big lights, experienced actors, enormous budget, and movie sets to make it work. I really encourage everyone to look further into the history of the New Wave and definitely watch films associated with it.